Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on the Flash season 6. That's the number. But yeah, so the day that this video comes out, we will be in the thick of it. They would have started filming for the Flash season 6. This is like a scheduled video because, as you guys would know, I'm moving. Now, a decent amount of people have been asking me about when we should expect like set photos and all of that to come out. And the answer to that is like we might have already got them, but we really shouldn't expect them in the first few days of filming, as they will just be trying to, find their feet and all of that. So they will probably just, film indoor scenes in studio just to get warmed up before moving to the more, chaotic outdoor and public scenes. Now, we could get lucky and have something like, I think it was season 3 of The Flash, where I think they filmed those Wally West versus the rival scenes on I think it was the second day of filming. But that would be us, getting lucky. So I probably wouldn't be counting on that happening. But yeah, I would say this weekend might be the first shots of season 6 filming that we will get, but we will just have to, wait and see, I guess. It's hard to be 100% sure. But as we have brought up over the past few videos, we now know of a few characters that will be showing up in episode 1, as well as episode 2 for this season of The Flash. Now, the Monitor will be in episode 2 by the looks of it, and Godspeed will be in episode 1, and we will come back to that stuff again later on in the video just to clear the air on some things. But one of the harder to make out names on the cast and character list is actually a character that will most likely be that typical first episode villain that we get every season. Like, he's a decent threat, but he's just there to kick it all off. Now, he could easily be a recurring villain, don't get me wrong, but if anything, he could be like a piece in the puzzle for this season, and he is just he is just the starting off point. So the villain in question that we will be seeing show up in episode 1 of season 6 is that of Ramsey Rosso, aka Bloodwork. Now, this isn't too surprising to see him show up, as it seems that the show is now delving into those New 52 and DC Rebirth Flash villains. There are still some villains from the past in the Flash comics, some classic ones that the show hasn't used, but as you would expect, as times move forward, they do get a bit more creative in the comics with antagonizing forces to try and one-up themselves or others from the past. So yeah, expect some newer villains to start showing up more regularly on the show. But in regards to Ramsey Rosso, aka Bloodwork, who the hell is he? What did he do in the comics to the Flash? What are his powers and abilities? And how could he work himself into episode 1 of season 6 of the Flash at the very least? Well, let's go over all of that, but of course, throughout the video, leave your various thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Do you like the sound of this villain? Does he sound pretty creepy and pretty cool? What do you think of him? And just leave your overall thoughts on everything else we go over in this video in the comments. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and just excited for the Flash to be back filming now, I guess, leave a like on the video to show that support and hype. But yeah, to start it all off, who is Bloodwork? Well, as I said, Bloodwork's real name is that of Ramsey Rosso, and he is actually a hemophiliac. So for those that are unaware of what a hemophiliac is, essentially their blood doesn't clot. So, and I think this is the general example that is sort of used to sum up the issues that a hemophiliac faces, is that they can actually bleed out from a simple paper cut. Let me know if that's wrong, but I think I remember hearing something along those lines. Obviously, it would take a while, but it would eventually get to that point where they would just bleed out. Now, we do have another hemophiliac in the Arrowverse already at this point in the form of Nate Haywood, aka Citizen Steel, who never goes still over on Legends of Tomorrow. So due to him being a hemophiliac, Ramsey Rosso was treated with extreme care as a child, almost as if his bones were made of glass. This was obviously to avoid any, scrape or cut that could lead to his death as a child. Eventually, at one point as a child, when getting an injury whilst playing, he learned of his condition and exactly why he was treated the way he was. But if we slam our fists onto the fast forward button and go through to the adult life of Ramsey Rosso, he is a coroner at the Central City Morgue. Zombie crossover, anyone? Anyway, at this point in the comics, Barry has had a run-in with Reverse Flash and has been involved with the negative Speed Force, making Barry a bit more, angry and a bit more emotional at this point. But he is still investigating a case, and the evidence trail in this case points to a common factor, that being blood. So Barry figures out that the person who was stealing blood is that of Ramsey Rosso, and actually finds him dumping some of this stolen blood. Now, Ramsey tells Barry the story of his condition in childhood that we already went over, but then Ramsey shares that he found a cure by experimenting with the properties of different blood types, and he is now indestructible, as well as some other abilities. Now, Ramsey is able to hit the Flash and then explain to him that he can control the properties of another person's blood as well as his own. So he can congeal blood and make the blood of others burn. So pretty, nasty abilities. Now, Ramsey can also transform his flesh into like a blood-like state or physiology, as well as simply being able to generate blood, just like that. Now, Barry as the Flash is able to hit back at Ramsey and actually, thinks, oh crap, I've killed him. But Ramsey's like, no, yo, jokes, and just gets up. And all this has done has made Ramsey realize just how powerful and indestructible that he actually is. Now, this leads to Ramsey going full on blood work and just growing larger and larger. The blood was flowing, let's just say that, and wreaking havoc through Central City. Now, Bloodwork actually blames the Flash for his violent antics and, what he's doing at that time, which makes sense. Of course it does. Just pin all your dodgy actions on someone else. But the Flash points out to Ramsey that experiencing pain is not a justification for hurting others. So there's the Flash putting some logic and some wisdom onto people. But the Flash is able to distract Ramsey, who's within Bloodwork. He's at the center of Bloodwork, long enough to, zap him. And he does this by admitting that he is wrong and admits to some mistakes that he has made recently, most of which was influenced by the negative Speed Force. Don't know if they'd bring that into the show. They might. It matters if, I guess, Barry and this dude in the show would have any past with each other. Probably not. Now, the Flash's shock transforms Ramsey back into his normal self, not the yucky and not very easy to look at Bloodwork. But how could they work Bloodwork into episode 1 of season 6 and make him a fairly cool villain just for that episode if it is just one episode? Well, I would basically keep most of what the comics did in regards to how they introduced him and I guess just what he was doing. I think that I think it was 3 or so issue opening arc that he was involved. He's appeared in other issues post his introduction arc, but that 3 episode arc is where he's the focus. So that 3 or so opening issue arc that he was involved in could easily be compressed into a single episode storyline, as well as dealing with other stuff in that episode. Maybe they could make it that Joe was trying to clean up CCPD, and maybe Ramsey Rosso, still an employee yet the more connected to the CCPD, is one of the people that is let go. Maybe that's a road they could go down. But then he might still be able to get access to, evidence and stuff after hours, or with an old key that he has or something like that. And then he can basically do what he did in the comics, like stealing blood, doing the experiments, and then getting these abilities. I am very interested to see what they could, what they would make him look like, because at a base level, as Bloodwork, he basically looks like Robbie Williams halfway through Rock DJ. But once he gets stronger, it turns into some weird stuff. It's cool, but it's weird. And also, that much blood might be a bit of an issue on serial TV at that time at night. Got to keep those advertisers happy. So, I'm sure they will find a way to do something cool with him, though. Maybe he might just be able to control people's blood and then do some other cool stuff without really changing his body in any major way. Maybe that's what they're going to do. That's a bit lame, but that's maybe the really, really, really G-rated version of the character. But the next part we are going to go over in this video is actually, it's fairly interesting. And this is part of a script for an audition for a character, which I was like, I have no idea who this could be for. And that was at first. And then I went on to think, okay, maybe it could be for Red Death. And you'll understand why I think that when I read it out. I was like, okay, maybe this is for Red Death. But now, after this reveal from the script cover from, thank you, Danielle Panabaker once again, it looks like it could be our new mate from episode 1 of season 6, that being Bloodwork. Now, it is important to note, this exact line might not be in the episode, but something along this line could be in the episode, or this cue, or this action, might I say. Sometimes they actually use proper scripts for auditions, sometimes they just use random made-up scripts with stuff related to the character that is being cast, or they use something that's, that's generating the same emotion that they'd want to have this character, emote, I guess. So they're never usually the exact thing we'll see in the show. I'm sure most of you remember the Cicada audition tapes from last season. They were very Cicada-esque in regards to what the character was meant to be, but none of those lines ended up on the show. But yeah, the cue in question is the following for the audition for a character in season 6. The character whispers in anger silently while his eyes swirl blood red. Now, after hearing that, you could understand why my first thought was wow, is that for Red Death? But yeah, now it seems like it was probably for Bloodwork. But yeah, overall, including that last little thing we went over there, Bloodwork sounds cool. I think he's, I don't want to spend too much time with him because I think he's fairly basic. I don't think there's too much you can really dive into. But I think just for an opening villain for an episode, I think it's going to be pretty cool. Obviously, it matters which way they go with him, whether they make him like a super G raid and all he can do is just control people's blood, and we see nothing like that. Okay, that's a bit lame. But if he can like transform himself and look a bit dodgy and a bit, well, not dodgy, but look a bit creepy and a bit weird, but still cool, then I'm all for it. Now, just to clarify some things, I did my Godspeed video where I was unsure. It said in the brackets during the video. Obviously, I had to re-upload that video a day after because of some issues. I didn't know. I just didn't want to change the video. But I know that it says non-speaking in the brackets. What's happening there is that on like when they're filming, Godspeed wouldn't speak because the Godspeed voice is done in post. Because BD Wong does the voice. He's actually not in the suit. So that's why it's non-speaking. And also it does have Camilla Huang in there as well. So yeah, those were the other characters that were on that script that we weren't able to make out at first. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and it shows support. What are your thoughts on Bloodwork coming into the show? Are you excited for him? Did you know about him? Do you read DC Rebirth and knew about the character? And if you're new to him, how does he sound? Does he sound cool for an episode villain? And yeah, just leave all your thoughts down there. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.